Hello, folks. This is John Kogan. I'm the CEO of Performative, the online community for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled So Long to Spreadsheets and QuickBooks, Why Now is the Time for a Fond Farewell. Most companies start out on Excel and QuickBooks. However, as they mature, add customers, and expand to new locations, they quickly realize that they need a complete business management solution that can not only keep pace, but can help them accelerate their growth. Cloud financial applications are increasingly allowing companies of all sizes to cost-effectively streamline processes, automate operations, reduce duplicate effort and data entry, and get better visibility into performance across their entire operations, from sales to fulfillment to accounting. Today we'll discover the top 5 signs that spreadsheets and QuickBooks may be hindering your company's success, including insights from 2 companies who upgraded to a cloud financial system from QuickBooks, and the key drivers of their decisions to upgrade and the actual benefits realized, as well as the top reasons companies of all sizes and industries are upgrading from QuickBooks to cloud financial systems. So a few things before we get going. Number 1, I would like to thank NetSuite, whose commitment to thought leadership in this realm helps us make this webinar possible and delivered at no cost to all of our participants. Secondly, welcome today, of course, to everyone joining us. We realize how busy you are, and we appreciate your taking an hour of your time to join us this morning. A quick note on today's agenda. First, we will hear a presentation from our first speaker, Anand Misra, and then we will move to an interactive panel discussion with Jason Balk, the CFO of Integrity, and Kathy Fidishin, Controller at KiwiPlan, followed by a Q&A session where we will spend the remainder of our hour. And we will read bios for those folks when we get to them. Now, we have a few housekeeping slides that we'd like to go through first in order to get things underway. Number 1, after participating in this event, we'd like you to be able to understand the key warning signs that your company has outgrown QuickBooks, identify key components of the ROI in upgrading to a cloud financial application, and understand current trends in the adoption of cloud financial systems. So those are our learning objectives for today. A few notes on today's event, and I'll go through each one of these bullets. Links to today's presentation and the recording of this webinar will be sent out to all attendees within 24 hours of the event. The presentation itself is already loaded on performative.com/resources for, of course, free download. So if you want to print those out and follow along on your end, feel free to do that. We are offering CPE credits for today's event. You will need to answer all 3 of the polling questions during the event. We'll have one at minute roughly 20, another at the 40th minute, and another one at the very tail end of the event. Should you have any questions on CPE credits at all, please send an email to cpe@performative.com. We are happy to answer your questions, and we'll do so in a timely fashion. Next, we'd like to encourage you to ask questions. Yes, we have a panel here, and they'll actually be answering questions from Anand, one of our other moderators. However, we would love to get questions from the audience. So if you take a moment to look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll note there's a section there entitled Questions. Please feel free to ask your questions at any time during today's event, and then when we get to the audience Q&A, we will do our best to get to your question. Finally, at the very end of the event, after the final polling question, and literally as we are closing down, we will launch a final survey. It's very brief, and we would love to have an extra 60 seconds from you so you can tell us how we did today, what you liked, what you didn't like, how we can improve. Also, we'd love to get feedback on today's speakers, and if you'd like to connect with any of them, there's the ability to request that as well. So we greatly appreciate you staying on for that last minute to take the post-event survey. A quick welcome to Performative. To those who are new to Performative, this might be your first event, first interaction with us. We appreciate your coming and joining us this morning or this afternoon. Performative is the largest and fastest growing online resource and community for corporate finance, treasury, accounting, and related professionals. Everything we do online on the site is completely free to our users. It's an amazing resource, very heavily traveled. And if you have questions of any sort, you'll either find answers already out there, or you can ask a few 100,000 of your peers. and they are very responsive. It's just a wonderful resource. It's all completely noise-free. We don't allow any selling or self-promotion in the community on Performative, and we welcome you to check it out at performative.com. Next, it is my pleasure to kick us off here by introducing our first speaker. His name is Anand Misra. He's a Senior Manager of Product Marketing at NetSuite. Anand has over 13 years of experience in product marketing and product management. He's helped launch multiple new products over those years. Prior to joining NetSuite, Anand was a Senior Product Marketing Manager at ADP. His work experience also includes roles at Thomson Reuters, Wolters Kluwer, and a number of startups. He holds a BS in Biology and a Master's in Communication and Journalism and an MBA in Banking and Finance from Hofstra University. With that, I'd like to welcome Anand and ask him to take it away.
Thanks, John. Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time today to listen in. As John mentioned, my name is Anand Misra, and I'm in product marketing with NetSuite. But before we dive in, here is my take on why this is an important topic. I'll just spend about 30 seconds in talking about the topic itself. So while QuickBooks and manual processes such as spreadsheets offer good entry-level solutions, they have limitations that basically prevent the product from meeting the needs of many companies and organizations, especially growing companies such as yours and larger organizations as well. So if you've reached a point at which you've outgrown the performance and feature set offered by QuickBooks and other such point solutions and have to rely on manual processes such as spreadsheets, that's probably good news. And the reason I say that is because that means your business is growing. Thousands of businesses arrive at similar crossroads every year. Some of the questions you may be asking could be, at what point do the costs of maintaining QuickBooks and manual processes outweigh the benefits of keeping them in place? When is the right time to make the move? And more importantly, no longer have to worry about lost data, performance problems, leaking information between sales, finance, fulfillment systems, or struggling just to get the reports you need to run your business. For all this more, we have two esteemed panelists who will share their experiences, the problems they faced, what motivated them to make the switch to a cloud-based solution, their recommendations, and much more later on during the session. So here is the agenda for today. So I will provide an overview of current trends in cloud computing and my take on QuickBooks, point solutions, and spreadsheets, and how they could be hampering your business growth. I will also discuss how we believe a cloud-based solution can help you replace these entry-level solutions with a more robust, reliable, and cost-effective solution which will truly help you accelerate the growth of your business. After that, I will kick off our panel discussion, during which we will talk about specific decisions that our panelists made about going to a cloud-based solution and how it's impacted their respective companies. We will also hear their advice to you, and finally, we will wrap up the discussion within Q&A, as John just mentioned, during which you're welcome to ask questions of our panelists. So let's get started. Here's a quick overview of who we are. NetSuite is the world's leading provider of cloud-based business management software. NetSuite helps companies manage core business processes with a single, fully integrated system covering ERP, financials, CRM, e-commerce, inventory, and much more. We serve over 16,000 companies and subsidiaries and are the fastest growing top 10 ERP system in the world. We are publicly traded, and our most recent quarterly revenue was a 34% increase year over year. As you can see, listed are some of the organizations that use NetSuite's cloud-based ERP to run their businesses worldwide, and these organizations range from small to mid-size to large multinationals. Our efforts have been recognized in the market and by the industry by the various awards that are listed on your screen. So I would like to share some of the latest trends in cloud computing and its impact on businesses of all sizes. As you can see, cloud momentum is accelerating. It's impossible to have a conversation these days without talking about cloud computing directly or indirectly. Whether it's a movie rental, Netflix comes to mind, storing documents and sharing files, Box, Google Drive come to mind, music, Apple iCloud comes to mind, or business solution. NetSuite is a great example. It's all about the cloud. And in a tough economic environment and ever-changing expectations, business leaders such as yourselves are required to deliver outcomes faster and cheaper with fewer resources. And for businesses of all sizes, cloud represents a tremendous opportunity and is the de facto standard for doing business these days. Cloud is here to stay and represents an opportunity to change the way we do business. So here is another interesting example of cloud adoption. Earlier this year, the Cloud Accounting Institute conducted a national survey of finance and accounting professionals. The questions they basically asked related to the current and planned use of cloud solutions. And it's interesting to note that over 80% were favorable in their intention to use cloud-based accounting solution in the future. The same study showed that cloud use increased a dramatic 44% from last year to this year. Another interesting finding was that although on-premise and cloud solutions will coexist, the on-premise model has lost its dominance even in the novelty-resistant accounting field. So moving on, another interesting study, a research of over 1,700 IMA members identified the most critical challenges faced by accounting and finance teams today. Among the key technology investments to improve productivity, the top 3 areas highlighted on your screen were integrating disparate systems, adding business intelligence, replacing point solutions with a suite-based system, all problems that you can identify with. So having provided a bit of context in terms of the trends, the key question still remains, why can't we still do all this? And generally, investing in business software and automation was supposed to help and not be the obstacle. And from your perspective, it is difficult, if not impossible, to foresee the demands a growing business can place on your business software. And now suddenly, you are dealing with multiple systems that don't talk to each other. You have little or no visibility into your growing business with different versions of data. You track mission-critical processes such as lead to cash, procure to pay, and IT costs are basically creeping up to integrate and maintain multiple solutions. So how did we get here? So normally business companies automate each business processes on a per-need basis. I mean, you may start with QuickBooks for financials, Act or Goldmine for CRM, and export data and consolidate in Excel for reporting. And the idea is that after investing in technology, we should be able to run the business more efficiently and get the needed insight to make decisions. The result, in fact, is just the opposite. The main reason for not able to get insight is due to automation itself. Organizations end up automating their business processes with best intentions, but few live up to expectations. What they provide instead is disruption. And talking about disruptions, despite best laid plans, companies end up with this. As the graphic shows, it grows into an application's hairball over time. Because most businesses are running multiple point systems for financials, sales, inventory, support, website, you name it, they're burdened with manual tasks and bottlenecks. So before we get into understanding how point solutions such as QuickBooks and manual processes such as Spreadsheets could be hampering your business, here is a look at typical business processes such as order management, procurement, and services. And these are just 3 examples of the numerous processes you may have at your respective organizations. And I'm sure that although not all of these processes are exactly identical to what you may have in your companies, the one common factor is they're all complex. And running these on a bunch of spreadsheets, QuickBooks, or a hairball of solutions is not only highly inefficient, it's costly and unproductive. So here's a powerful example of the issue with manual systems such as spreadsheets. In the past few years, Excel has been implicated in some of the biggest blunders on Wall Street and finance in general. So while you're reading the quote and looking at the Excel error message, a quick story on the impact of spreadsheet errors. So in April of this year, a couple of UMass grad students announced that they had discovered a simple spreadsheet error in what is considered to be the most influential economic analysis of recent years. What they were referring to was a paper, a 2010 paper by Harvard economists Carmen Reinhart and Kenneth Rogoff that made what many thought was an airtight case for government austerity. The study asserted that national economies with debt exceeding 90% of GDP don't grow. They shrank by an average of 0.1%. Their data gave austerity enthusiasts green light to slash government spending even in the face of mass unemployment. But it was based on incorrect data, not only leaving out information, but also simple spreadsheet errors. In fact, the UMass students claim that the GDP grows by an average of 2.2%, even with 90% debt levels. The reason I'm giving this example is, as you all know, these kind of errors using manual processes happen quite frequently to all of us. So based on talking to our customers, here are some of the main reasons we see companies leave QuickBooks for a cloud-based solution, such as NetSuite, to improve management reporting. QuickBooks was designed for a time when you could afford to wait until the end of the month to get the data you needed. That's not the case today. Consolidated views and up-to-the-minute real-time reporting can make the difference between thriving and barely surviving. You're doing more of your accounting outside of QuickBooks. For example, finance staff members are using several different applications to do the jobs. As a result, you will find new systems, custom applications, and spreadsheets springing up around QuickBooks, filling in the gaps you had expected the accounting systems to take care of. You're losing sales because you can't get information where and when it's needed fast enough. Customer service fails because agents don't have up-to-date information. Stock levels never seem to be where the customers want it, and customers and vendors can't self-serve information on your website. Lastly, it's not difficult to reconcile versions of data. You have paper trails of sales orders, manual order entry, and invoicing. Financial consolidation takes ages, and sales forecasting and budgeting processes generally rely too much on guesswork. With each new layer of business software you add to resolve the issue, the underlying system becomes more inflexible. The investments in underlying hardware and software become costly to maintain and fail to keep up pace with technology innovation. So the reason you may want to consider a suite-based approach is because business suites can streamline key business processes such as lead to cash and procure to pay, and centralize key business information. You can basically improve business efficiency and enable overall business across different areas such as sales, finance, service, and fulfillment to do much more with less. Everyone in the organization has access to the same data based on their role profiles. You can extend the model also to include your customers, vendors, and partners. Like I mentioned earlier, we will hear from our panel shortly on how they have transitioned to cloud financials from point solutions such as QuickBooks and have realized the benefits. Another big advantage that cloud-based solution provides is enabling your employees if they want to work from the office, while traveling, from home, and from a device of their choice. Since it's a 100% web-based solution, all they need is a browser. So before we move on to the panel discussion, here is a list of customers who have switched from QuickBooks to NetSuite's cloud-based solution. This is just a sample, and we have hundreds of organizations in all verticals who have made the switch.
Yep, thank you, Anand. So this is the first of 3 polling questions, and even if you are not here for CPE credit, we'd appreciate getting insight as to your thoughts on biggest frustrations related to current accounting and financial systems. We'll leave this open for about 30 seconds so everyone can chime in who would like to. A quick reminder that you can ask questions at any point here via the question area in your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will do our best to get to your questions during the audience Q&A segment, which will come at the end of today's webinar. And let's move on to the next page here, the next segment. And in doing so, I'd like to introduce our 2 panelists today. The first is Jason Balk, who's CFO at Integrity. Jason has been involved in technical and financial operations for nearly 20 years. His areas of expertise include financial analysis, strategic planning, M&A, GAAP, compliance in various flavors, forecasting, budgets, auditing, reporting, risk management, and treasury management, among many other areas. So typical of CFO, he wears an awful lot of hats. Jason has previously held positions in sales and finance at UPS, US Exchange, which was acquired by Earthlink, and Business Ed Solutions, which was acquired by EMC. And he served as VP of Finance and CFO at Integrity. Jason currently serves on the board of directors for Integrity and has served on the advisory board for Era 5 Media. So that is Jason Balk. Jason, welcome today. Next is Kathy Fidishin. Kathy is controller at KiwiPlan. She serves as business unit controller for KiwiPlan and Synode Service, both ITW units. KiwiPlan is a global software company serving the packaging industry, and Synode Service is a parts and service business supporting a range of ITW manufacturing products in various industries. Kathy has over 20 years in accounting and finance experience, 13 years at Arthur Andersen, 5 years in private industry, and 6 years with ITW. Kathy, thanks so much for joining us today. You bet. And with that, I will hand back over to Anand, who will drive. Oh, actually, sorry. Let's go ahead and hop to our next slide before we head back over to Anand. And I'm going to ask the panelists to just talk briefly about their companies. Kathy, why don't we start with you and KiwiPlan?
Sure. Thank you. KiwiPlan, as you mentioned, was a software company. We provide solutions for the corrugated and packaging industry, including a focus in the manufacturing execution systems, but we also have order entry, transportation, supply chain, and some other auxiliary products for that industry. We have offices in the UK, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and in the US. We've got about 616 active sites, corrugated and other packaging sites around the world. We're in 36 countries and in multiple languages, the software as well. And that's just a little bit about us.
Thank you very much. It's great insight. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about Adtegrity?
Certainly. Adtegrity is an interactive advertising firm that specializes in cross-screen solutions for brand agencies and performance marketers. We do display mobile video banner ads to the tune of about 30 billion on a monthly basis. And we were founded in 1999, headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with 2012 revenues of 20 million and 45 employees.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, well, with that background, I'll hand it back over to Anand, who will lead the next part of the conversation.
Thanks, John. So to the panel discussion, which everyone is waiting for, let's get started. So, Kathy, starting with you, what were the key challenges you were facing with QuickBooks, Point Solutions, and Spreadsheets?
Sure. The biggest issues, we really had two that drove us to look for a new solution. One, as you had mentioned in your presentation, is just the manipulation of data was just such a great burden and non-value added effort in our organization. For example, we have deferred maintenance revenue. We bill annually for our support maintenance contracts for all of our customers. And we had, for example, in the U.S., about an Excel spreadsheet that had over 6,000 lines of data in it for all the products that were installed in all of our sites. And just manipulating that every month for new sales and updating it for the renewals was just so time-consuming, and it was fraught with easy errors, just data clerical errors. So we were constantly reconciling that and trying to tie that out. So that was just a huge burden for us. The other issue was visibility. As I mentioned, we have 5 units, 4 of which are international units, and we were all on various products around the globe. And from a management standpoint, being able to see that information and consolidate it effectively versus, again, using Excel spreadsheets and manual processes was a big issue for us. So those would be the two largest issues for us that really drove us to look at a new solution.
Thank you, Kathy. So Jason, coming to you, the same question, what were the key challenges you were facing with QuickBooks, Point Solutions, and Spreadsheets?
Similar to what Kathy mentioned, the biggest thing for us was efficiency. We work with thousands of websites on a monthly basis, and it was really tough when month-end came around for us to be able to efficiently handle the volume of liabilities that we had paying out website vendors that we worked with. At our peak, we were dealing with 50,000 websites on a monthly basis, and sending out payments to that many people took days and weeks to try and get done. What we were able to do by moving over to NetSuite was effectively reduce those tasks into minutes. that was a huge boon for us. Also, a single and complete view for customer records. My background is in system integration, process implementations for telecom companies, and it was always interesting. Everybody was trying to, in that industry, come up with a one-size-fits-all type of solution, and everybody was trying to get towards a single view of a customer record. And recognizing that and seeing that NetSuite would help us out with that. With QuickBooks, you have limited licenses. Not everybody's able to see the complete picture. You could have maybe a Salesforce on the side, but that's not integrated with your financial system. So the key was to get a holistic view of customer records that we could share with everybody in the company, and everybody could be on the same page when they're servicing that client. And that helped us out tremendously with eliminating mistakes, miscommunications, things of that nature. And also, from a third perspective, we had a lot of different departments that were kind of working in silos, and by bringing on NetSuite, it kind of allowed us to look at each department and what they're doing and how things integrate and how we could utilize the platform to help us with that, and then also increase accountability to our sales force.
Great. So moving on, in terms of the goals itself, so this is essentially a three-part question. Why a cloud-based approach, the key evaluation criteria, and why go with the suite model? Kathy, I'll come back to you on that.
Sure. We looked at both premise software as well as software as a service models as part of our evaluation of a new solution. And we were really drawn towards the cloud model from a standpoint of the IT infrastructure. We really saw some benefit in going to that model where the IT infrastructure is managed by someone else outside of the company, that from a cost standpoint as well as just from a simplicity standpoint. The other reason that the cloud and NetSuite was very attractive to us was data accessibility. Our techs, our software technicians that go around the globe installing our software and servicing it, as well as our sales force, they needed to be able to access data in the system as well as the management team. And having it be an internet-based solution and being able to access it anywhere, including on your iPhone if necessary, was really attractive to us. So those were really two reasons why the cloud was advantageous, and we went that direction. As far as evaluation criteria, obviously I mentioned before, just getting more automated and the visibility, those two issues that were driving factors. But also in our situation, we needed to be able to automate our maintenance contracts, and there is a software solution for that within NetSuite. We had multiple currencies, multiple languages, so our accounting folks that are overseas, for example in Germany, can see the screens in German. So there's some language issues that NetSuite was able to address for us. The reporting functionality within NetSuite can be very customized to your business and able to drill down. And lastly, just the access, the ability, as was mentioned previously, to control who has access to what data by Jason was also a benefit for us. So our sales guys have more information at their hands through NetSuite on the customer, what products they have installed, what pricing they have, where they stand on receivables. That type of information now is easily accessible by our sales team, and that was also a reason that we went with NetSuite.
Thanks, Kathy. So, a quick follow-up on that, Kathy, with you. So during our conversation earlier, you talked about why a suite-based approach. So you went, with an integrated solution such as NetSuite. Can you throw some light on that?
Sure. So NetSuite being an integration solution, having the CRM modules bundled in with the financial reporting is very useful. Being able to track quotes as they move through the system is very helpful. Having all that information integrated having the deferred maintenance contracts that I had mentioned earlier in NetSuite and not in some sort of side system. You don't have those reconciling issues that you do when you're running multiple solutions. So with NetSuite, we were able to get everything we needed really front to back and within one solution. So we've taken out any reconciliation issues, whether it's AR, AP, deferred maintenance, all that's within NetSuite, as well as the sales side of things is also in the solution for us. So that's just been a real benefit.
Thanks, Kathy. And Jason, back to you on the same questions. Three-part: why a cloud-based approach? What were your key evaluation criteria, and why go with Suite? Sure.
First of all, being an advertising company, we're pretty comfortable using third-party platforms and using the cloud. Some of our key partners are Yahoo, Google, and AppNexus, and all of their solutions were delivered, one, in the cloud, and two, accessible through web browsers. So it was just kind of a natural extension for us to find a solution that kind of did the same thing. Keeping costs down was a huge driver in implementing into the cloud as well, and then also being able to access, key metrics, company data from anywhere was also a main driver towards moving into a cloud as from a point solution. Some of the main criteria that we used in evaluating our decision was accessibility. Like I mentioned, we needed something where we have sales folks in other states. We also have people that travel, and to quickly bring up a customer record and to be able to answer key questions for a client just by logging into an app or using their browsers goes a long way in servicing the customers. Also, a main primary point also was open APIs. We needed to have integration with our ad servers and consolidate and reporting amongst several different advertising exchanges was key to streamlining our month-end invoicing process and also handling our liabilities to all the websites that we work with. So we weren't really looking to have our developers waste time and resources on their own to build custom solutions. So seeing that NetSuite could handle that right off the bat was very valuable to us. We also, we were a QuickBooks user, and reporting wasn't quite where we needed it to be. And so just out of the box, there are tons of reports available to whatever role you might assign to an individual at your company. And also, each one of those is customized, and there's also report builders, too, that will help you out. And then access control, coming from a finance perspective, not every bit of information needs to be disclosed to every single employee, even from an HR perspective. So being able to kind of silo off the data within the system, but also being able to open that up to different users depending on their roles was pretty important. And then moving on to the third question, why Suite? We just needed a single point solution, for our CRM, customer service, finance, HR, all in a single platform, just to, one, give us a unified view so that we're providing better customer service, but also give us additional insights. Our sales pipeline was something that we weren't able to really have a gauge on when we were doing the different point solutions. And that has changed dramatically since we moved over to NetSuite, and all the way through the point of having our contracts generated out of NetSuite. So several advantages that we found moving over to NetSuite.
Thank you, Jason. So moving to the cloud itself, you decided, okay, cloud was the best, solution for you. And Kathy, if you can talk about what were some of your experiences in making the move, and if you can share any best practices with the attendees, basically.
Sure. I think, when people think about moving to the cloud, obviously, there's some concerns about uptime and loss of control over data. And when we moved to the cloud, we've been on for about 3 years now, We've not had any issues with NetSuite as far as uptime or availability with the system. We've had no issues in that area. And as I mentioned before, as far as the control within NetSuite, the security, the ability to set up roles for your employees and then define within those roles what information they have access, very specifically down to screens and data. And I think those two things we were able to address within NetSuite and have not had any issues arising in those areas where I think most people, have some concerns.
Jason, back to you on the same question. I mean, can you share your experiences in making the move to the cloud?
Sure. It wasn't too difficult for us. Like I mentioned in the past, we were pretty familiar with the cloud hosting solutions. The one thing that made it very easy for us is because we were a QuickBooks customer, NetSuite does offer a QuickBooks data migration program that we use. So, I sent this QuickBooks file over, and within 2 days it was processed. All my data that was in QuickBooks was now in NetSuite, and we didn't have any huge downtime or noticeable discrepancies in our financials after we utilized the migration plan. And just having to integrate several departments, we didn't lose anything, but we felt we gained a whole lot in terms of visibility into the client, and then also the ability to automate some internal processes as well.
Thanks, Jason. So, now that you are running in the cloud for a few years now, Kathy, back to you. What's been the improvement to your financial processes, and if you can also share some of the benefits to the broader organization as well?
Sure. The biggest improvement is really productivity, and the accounting staff would be the largest. We've done away with a lot of the non-value added processes that we had to have in place when we had QuickBooks. A lot of the reconciliation that I talked about before and manipulation of data within Excel spreadsheets is gone with the automation that we were able to achieve in the NetSuite product. So that time that was spent on non-value added activities has been now refocused on cost-saving opportunities, giving management more information to make better decisions about the business as we move forward and grow. Around the globe. Visibility has improved for management. The reports that they're getting are more detailed, and they have the ability to access the data and drill down into information where they didn't really have that before. The sales guys are much happier with the ability to get data, as I mentioned, whether it's customer pricing or what products are installed by each customer by site or where they stand on their receivables. That visibility has been a huge improvement. And then again, just the integration, the 360 view of our customers and our business with everything being so integrated rather than having multiple systems. You kind of go to one place, one shop, one-stop shopping really in the NetSuite product.
Great. So Jason, the same back to you again, running in the cloud, what's been the improvement in your financial processes and the benefits to the overall organization as such?
Sure. Coming from a background where heavily IT-based, one of the main areas you're always looking for the efficiencies, and one thing that we were able to do was pretty much scale NetSuite to almost 50 employees without bringing on an additional accounting staff, just because of what NetSuite allowed us to do and provided for us. So we were able to grow the company and limit headcount based on, within the accounting functions, and really focus on our growth in the company more from a sales perspective. So that was a huge improvement in our financial processes. Also being able to keep controls in place, create custom reports that we could, use with our outside auditors for year-end wrap up, to make sure that everything is seamless. And once you set up reports, they're there. You don't have to worry about creating it again next year. And after the first couple audits, we found that I was able to reduce the prep time very significantly. So that was huge, and then also just integrating our ad servers and all of our revenue and cost functions associated with that was a huge driver in efficiencies. In terms of benefits to the overall organization, our sales force was able to grow quite significantly, being able to save from back office solutions. We were able to focus in that area to continue to grow our business, and we've seen some pretty decent growth over the last 6 years since we've been utilizing NetSuite. And then one other key area that helped us is that early on in the process, we joined up with NetSuite in 2007, and in the media space, there's different pricing metrics, different ways. You're dealing with billions of quantities on a monthly basis as far as invoicing, and we needed to have some custom scripts created. And working with NetSuite, they developed a media bundle, which was just a simple plug-and-play system that we went with. And ever since they've implemented that, they've supported it, and it also allowed us to create accurate invoices instead of many people in our industry that might just give you a quantity of one and then give you an amount. We were able to actually break things down to show the true rates, true quantities, and really helped out with the month-end reconciliation process for our customers and vendors. Improved communication, another overall organization, like we touched on earlier, the one single view that we're able to go through, reduced errors and better customer service, and also some of the other benefits that we've experienced is the fact that NetSuite is highly customizable, and you don't need to have necessarily a computer science degree to understand how to create forms and formulas, calculations, etc. You can create custom solutions right out of the box in NetSuite. So that allowed us to create custom forms for each department for tasks that they utilize and different workflow engines that we use to, at the end, provide better efficiency and customer service.
Thank you, Jason. And, the last question to the panelists basically is in terms of best practices. So, Kathy, back to you. What's your advice for anyone looking to make the move? Where should they start?
What I would recommend is really two things that I thought were kind of a best practice. One was really going through your processes and flow charting those out, using a cross-functional team, getting everyone involved from sales and operations as well as the accounting side to talk about, whether it's the billing process or the sales process, and seeing how you do it today, what documents you use, what tools that you use, and where are the issues, where's the waste, the non-value added time in the process, and how would you like it to flow. And as you do that, then you can match that to the solution, NetSuite, for example, and see how they would handle it, and making sure that there's a great fit for your organization. The other thing is also to start with the end result in mind, which is really reporting. Financial reporting at the end of the day is why we gather all this information into the system. So what information do you need at the end of the day to provide to your management team and into your, the board of directors or whomever you have that you're reporting into, to make sure that as you're setting up the system, as was mentioned by Jason, there's a lot of customization within NetSuite on the reporting side. And I think if you kind of start with that in mind as to what you need to provide and build your system with that end result, that end goal in mind, that's very helpful. The other thing, by doing the definition and flow charting out your processes and kind of what the non-value added tasks are today and how those would go away with NetSuite, you can then sell management and get management's buy-in to make the change to go from QuickBooks to NetSuite or whatever current solution you're on today. If you can show them, look, here's all this non-value added time that we've identified in our processes, and if we switch to NetSuite, here's how that would be handled differently, and the amount of time savings that you're estimating to come from that, I think, helps get management to buy into moving to a new solution, as well as the better reporting and visibility within your business. From a migration standpoint for us, NetSuite, you can migrate either all at once or in phases. The way our business is set up and having the 5 units internationally, we've kind of phased it in, but you can work with the NetSuite team to decide what works best for your organization. We did use NetSuite to do our implementation, and they were able to give us templates and things to import our data. As Jason was mentioning, we were able to download fairly easily out of QuickBooks a lot of our customer information, vendor information, etc., and then we're able to then import it in to NetSuite. So there wasn't a lot of rekeying of data into the new system, which was a huge time saver in the process. So that was very helpful. And again, the customization in NetSuite was very helpful as well, as far as changing field names even to be in the terminology that our company uses. So things that we were used to saying, we could change field names within NetSuite. For example, just simple things that help people adopt to a new system easier so that it's not so foreign when you move to a new system. If you can use some of the same terminology you use today, it's a small thing, but it does help get buy-in and easier transition into the new solution. So that customization not only of reports but even of field names is advantageous within the NetSuite product. So those would be the big things that I would say as far as transitioning and best practices.
Thank you, Kathy. And Jason, what would be your advice for anyone looking to make the move? Where should they start?
Just kind of expounding on what Kathy said, I think the first place to start is to build a case for the move and then get the buy-in from all the key stakeholders. One thing that we didn't have right away was, I guess, buy-in from every single department. So slowly getting people on board and then having to prove to them that the efficiencies are where will help those departments move and grow and be more efficient. Once you can show them that, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. But I think buy-in is the biggest point. Some other things, I would look at when we moved over to NetSuite. They included a certain number of consulting hours and training webinars. I would definitely take advantage of some of that. Well, many of these packages can be very similar on the back end. It is important to be familiar with it. So when you are making that switch, you are up to speed on the new system, and you have somebody that kind of owns that process and also assists with training on the other side with all your employees. There's also several different bundles in industry type products that NetSuite has with some of the partner programs. I would recommend looking at some of that as well. And if you do get hung up on something, I have found that the help section in Suite Answers also provides you with a plethora of examples, very well thought out and designed training materials. One thing that you may want to consider some help in also is there's some custom suite scripts, logarithms that you can create within NetSuite, which isn't too highly complex, but a normal staff developer could easily handle building some of that if you need some custom workflow done. The key for us, like I said, was buy-in, and then once you get there, NetSuite does a good job of walking you through the different areas and providing you with the key staff to help assist you and make it as seamless as possible.
So, those were great insights, Kathy and Jason, and thank you for sharing your experiences. So, in conclusion, what I would like to say is when it's hard to find what's really happening across your business in real time, you spend too much time re-entering and reconciling data across systems, and you're doing a lot more of your accounting outside of QuickBooks than in it, and too much time is spent worrying about technology instead of focusing on business results, which should be the core focus. Basically, it may be time to consider cloud-based ERP products and services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anand. So Let's go ahead and move into the second of our 3 polling questions. I'm going to go ahead and launch that right now. That was great hearing from our 2 speakers today. Thanks a lot for those insights. And we're going to be getting back to both Jason and Kathy in a few moments here when we get to the audience Q&A. And the guided Q&A there took a few minutes longer than we anticipated, so we'll probably only have time for a handful of questions. But anything that we can't get answered right now, we will go ahead and do our best to follow up with you if you have asked a question. So feel free to go ahead and ask any other questions via the question zone in your GoToWebinar control panel. With that, I'll go ahead and leave the question open for another 5 seconds, and then we will get back into the audience Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out right now. And let's go ahead and jump into the audience Q&A. So first question we have is, and I will ask this to Kathy first, and then we'll actually follow up with Jason after. Kathy, how would you compare the total cost of ownership between QuickBooks/other compared with NetSuite? Has this been a compelling economic decision for your group and your company?
Sure. NetSuite, obviously QuickBooks is a very simplistic product. It's not as integrated as NetSuite is, so the cost is, from a dollar standpoint, a little higher on an annual basis. But I think when you factor in the non-value added time that I talked about, and how much effort that consumed with maintaining the Excel spreadsheets and the reconciliations that we were doing, we believe that the cost overall is a benefit to the company. We feel like we are getting the savings using NetSuite from a business standpoint, that it's totally advantageous that we made the switch.
So return significantly greater than the investment and relatively.
We believe so, yes.
Jason, what's your take on that?
I agree with everything Kathy said. Obviously, QuickBooks is an off-the-shelf system. NetSuite isn't, so you can expect to have a cost difference there. But the first thing that we notice is just improvement in workflow, sales, efficiencies, and we look at it as a tremendous cost savings over all the other point solutions, or trying to just have people in place to make sure that your checks and balances are there when NetSuite can handle that right out of the box.
Mm-hmm. Kathy, what are your thoughts around security of this cloud-based data?
We feel that the NetSuite meets the SAS 70 requirements and has certification. If you go online, they meet the requirements that you would hope of a vendor. We have not had any security issues internally as well. As I mentioned, the ability to set up roles and then put people to those roles and define security as to what they can see on the menus as well as on the reports and even the fields that they can have access to, and the type of access they have, whether they have the ability to just view it, edit it. I think that it really is a tight system, and we've not had any issues from a security standpoint.
Okay. Jason, anything on your front? Any thoughts about security using this platform, or any issues you've had?
We've had no issues from a security perspective. We're pretty comfortable working with the cloud-based solutions. We also realize that a company like NetSuite has the resources to do it better than what we can. So when it comes from that perspective, no security issues, and just like Kathy said, there are some strict security settings that you can set within the system to kind of control who can see what data. If you're thinking you have a disgruntled salesperson that's ready to leave, it's not like they have to see every single account in your system. You can silo that to just their accounts. There's several settings that assist you with that.
So highly granular security settings for users.
Yep.
Okay. Jason, let's hop back to you first on this next question. You mentioned integration between NetSuite and your ad servers. How easy or difficult was that integration process relative to other integrations you've done in the past? And how'd that go for you?
It actually went pretty well. Our IT staff has a lot of experience in doing system integration projects. Integrating them with our ad servers was pretty easy. It depends on the vendors you work with, obviously, and the amount of documentation that they have, or whether or not you have the ability to call them up and say, oh, I'm having an issue. For some reason, I'm not able to view this particular field that I'm trying to grab. We've always found that they've been very helpful from a NetSuite perspective, and then also with our other partners, Yahoo and Google and AppNexus have always worked with us and make resources available. So it was pretty seamless for us, actually.
Kathy, what about you? Have you guys done integrations into NetSuite?
We have not. One thing that we are looking at potentially doing is NetSuite does partner with Concur, which is an expense reporting tool that's linked to American Express credit cards, and that is a partner of NetSuite. So that is something we're potentially looking at as a future process improvement, having that link and be able to upload it into NetSuite. But at this time, we don't have it linking to any external systems.
Okay. Kathy, did you guys use Salesforce or any other applications other than QuickBooks that you had to convert into NetSuite when you switched over?
Actually, our sales guys really were ad hoc. They were keeping their files, their quotes and things themselves in various ways. And that was one of the advantages of going to NetSuite, was moving them into a standardized process within the NetSuite solution and having quotes and contracts stored within NetSuite.
Gotcha. Jason, same question over to you. Did you guys move CRM or any other data into NetSuite other than QuickBooks?
No, we did not move anything on. Like Kathy said, it was kind of a value add, getting away from, everybody, all the sales folks updating spreadsheets and trying to keep the pipelines all connected through a variety of spreadsheets. NetSuite made it very simple, and the out-of-the-box reporting just from the pipeline analysis and being able to assign different values to close as far as probabilities go, that was helpful for us as well.
Gotcha. Hey, Anand, are you still on here, I presume? I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
If companies are interested in staying with other platforms that might be part of the NetSuite suite, would they have that ability? Let's say you have a CRM package you happen to be highly invested in. Would you be able to stay on that and integrate it with NetSuite?
Absolutely. I mean, like Jason mentioned, open APIs and through simple, integration processes, they're certainly able to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. And with that, we're going to get into the last little bit of housekeeping. First off, thank you so much to NetSuite for sponsoring today's webinar and allowing us to do this at no cost to our users. We appreciate their support. A quick note on speaking of finance technology, Performatech is coming up in Las Vegas on February the 13th, 2014. Please check that out at performatech.com. We have a last polling question, which I'm going to go ahead and launch right now. Like the others, I'll leave this out for about 30 seconds and ask for folks to go ahead and get their responses in, whether you're here for CPE credit or not. We'd be curious as to what you think the most important elements of an accounting system are for you at your company. So just please use your local perspective on that, your position at your company. Now, when we're done with this, we will move into the post-event survey, which takes 60 seconds or less. We greatly appreciate everyone staying on for that last minute and giving us feedback. So I'm going to leave this open for another 5 seconds. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and thank everyone who participated today. We know that everyone online is incredibly busy. We greatly appreciate your taking an hour and spending it with us. If you'd like to have another great resource at your beck and call, I would recommend you check out performative.com. It's just a great online community for peers. And we certainly hope to see you again soon at another Performative event or online at performative.com.